We're now joined in studio by Sasha Naryshkine. He is from Vestact. I wanted to say Vestact. Is there any connection between the two?
No, we plan to acquire them at some stage.
Red headline is coming up now. Vestact to acquire Vestact. Seriously, let's begin with the biggest news of the day. Results from MTN. Now, MTN, of course, is important for all of us because it's the biggest locally owned company listed on the JSE. First dividend, 151 cents a share. The share initially went up, and then when I was coming into studio here, I saw it was up just 0.1%. Is the market disappointed with the level of that dividend?
Yeah, I think in the last hour or so, market sold off quite heavily. It was two pieces of disappointing economic news, so I wouldn't draw too much from it. But you're right, a maiden interim dividend now. Normally you would ask shareholders, are they happy? In this case, our view is that we want the company to expand as quickly as they can. Whilst many of these assets look cheap, to put into context, remember they bought that Nigerian license comfortably over a decade ago for what seemed a ludicrous price at the time. So this is the point that I guess at Vestact we try to make from time to time, that maybe they should use, because they're really strong, cash generators, don't have as much debt as they used to, and that's in part because they've grown quickly. But on balance, I guess we're pleased. It's astonishing at how quickly the subscriber base in Iran has grown. ARPU's kind of stable there. ARPU's under pressure here locally.
But Sasha, are you saying that you are unhappy with this change to pay more dividends instead of using the money to grow? Is that what you're saying? Because some people have been saying for some time that perhaps the era of opportunities is gone, and MTN should be looking internally to try to get efficiencies out of the business that we have now, and perhaps start paying shareholders some dividends.
Yeah, I guess that's one view. But like I try and draw parallels between, a lot of the licenses in an African context have been taken, and even as MTN pointed out, even though not every Nigerian has a cell phone, as far as they're concerned, the kind of penetration level is somewhere around 45%, and they saw a little bit of a slowdown when they reached there. But I was interested in that interview with Tumentleko, in which he pointed towards data, because I think data is going to be the next key driver here. Look, we probably won't have the same kind of take-up rate with smartphone expansion in Africa, but you're already seeing it inside of our own lives, where we use our mobile handsets for a lot more data viewing. A lot of them are fancier than others, but a lot of people are starting to use it. And specifically, if you have a look at that mobile money product, which works really well in East Africa, they've jumped to over 2 million subscribers, of which I think just over 40% is in Uganda specifically. So if they can roll out the same type of mobile payment systems in West Africa, that's obviously another key. So as far as the South African market is concerned, it was nice to see them actually gaining
of some kind. Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. And EBITDA margins actually increased. So I don't buy this notion that MTN or X growth, to be perfectly honest, that's a load of nonsense.
Could that be more, though, as a result of the World Cup? Because we do know that there were heavy sponsors during the World Cup, and I'd imagine Sepp Blatter's office must have been an 083 number.
And and I couldn't draw any money at Soccer City at the time, and apparently was blamed on the MTN network. So no, that aside, I think Godfrey, that over the long term, you want to be owning a stock that looks relatively cheap compared to its emerging market peers. And I must be honest, and it's in one of the fastest growing markets anywhere on the planet. The South American market grows quite strongly, and of course the Chinese market. And you've seen companies like American Mobile, and then of course China Mobile, growing their subscriber base in those specific regions. But what I like about Africa is, if population projections are correct, the population on this continent could double in the next 40 years. So that's obviously a lot more subscribers that are due to grow, other than in places like China, where you're seeing populations decreasing over the same sort of period.
You anticipate my question, because my next question was going to be, we saw a 14% increase in subscriber numbers in Nigeria. We saw 16% in Iran. Now, where is the next growth phase going to come from? Is it going to come from those two geographies, or are we likely to see then perhaps MTN bedding down and beginning to extract costs out of the business?
I think probably a little bit of both. You must remember that the base in Africa is still relatively low. You've got economies that are able to grow at 6-7% plus. I was astonished on your program this morning. We were talking about Kenya, and people openly talk about double-digit growth for the next 20 years. I mean, that's nothing short of astonishing. So if the ARPUs are still relatively low at this point in time, they should only increase. Obviously, there's going to be margin compression over time as people start fighting for rates. But to be able to start off at a base where your EBITDA margins are northwards of 40%, that's nothing short of astonishing.
Two more stocks that came out with results today. We saw Truworths lifting full-year headline earnings up 12% on an 11% increase in sales, suggesting there wasn't any room really to do anything with the margins there, because we also saw they said that they increased prices and they opened new stores. You happy with that?
Yeah, Truworths seems to be a good quality stock, and trading at somewhat of a discount are the clothing retailers to their food competitors. And maybe inside of there's although having said that, they do sound a little bit hawkish in their short-term outlook. Unemployment rate's still unacceptably high in South Africa, but what could help them down the line obviously are some of these wage increases, which could be inflationary, could benefit some of the discretionary spend, and Truworths would definitely be one of the benefactors.
Quick check on Imperial. They're expecting headline earnings to be up 38 to 40% higher.
This was a company that was, remember, completely crushed, and they've done a bit of rejigging, done specifically with some of their bank internal assets having sent those out. Yeah, I think probably what you're seeing is a change in the motor vehicle, and having gone through the best of times in 2007 and 2008, the beginning of 2008, motor vehicle market got completely crushed, and what you're starting to see is a slow pickup in there.
This is a recovery story. Sasha